The incompetent and the stupid. The fires burning on the Golden Coast, consuming over 10,000 buildings with a rising body count and billions upon billions of dollars in damage, can be laid directly at the feet of the idiots, the morons running California. And while yes, Governor Newsom and that idiot mayor of Los Angeles are indeed partially to blame here, they are but in fact just another setup of clowns in a long list of clowns that have lined back a span of decades now. You see, my friends, it is a tale of retarded environmentalist wacko policies, complete with climate change hysteria that helped spearhead the crash course that California has been on now for decades. Now, Adrian, I hear you say, how can you possibly say this? Well, I'm glad you asked, voice in my head. Let's start with the insane environmental restrictions on clearing potential fire risks deadwood and brush near properties. You see, in the name of climate religion, California has implemented a number of severely stupid policies aimed at addressing the so-called climate change crisis and environmental concerns. These include massive restrictions on forest management. You heard that right. This restrictions on forest management kept the state from managing potential fire risks. Why? How? Well, they first of all reduced clearing of deadwood. This means California limited the removal of dead trees and underbrush from forests. This is the tinder, the main ingredient for making massive forest fires. But the state said, nah, it'll be fine. Now, I wish I was joking here, but sadly I'm not. These idiots, and I'm being nice here, felt that the best way to save the environment was to leave conditions that literally caused an accumulation of fuel from massive wildfires, which leads to increased risk of large severe fires. Hello. And of course, this means a dramatic increase in difficulty for our heroic firefighters to actually put a stop to said fires when they happen. These idiotic policies put in place by California legislatures have led to the ravaging of the very local environments that they supposedly care about. And this, by the way, has also led to the deaths of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or more, wildlife animals caught in the kill zone of these forest fires. So good job, California. But my friends, that's not all. You see, California not only blocked the removal of deadwood, but also placed limitations on prescribed burns. See, prescribed burns are an effective tool for forest management. You burn areas in advance in small quantities to keep larger forest fires from being able to spread. But no, the environmentalist wackos in California and their allies in the California legislature put regulations in place to make all of that so much more difficult. And while this is stupid, it still wasn't the end of the story. You see, you can't have a socialist-leaning state without also restricting private citizens from taking steps themselves to protect their own properties from potential fires. For example, some local ordinances have restricted property owners' ability to clear vegetation around their homes. Why? Don't know, but apparently bad for environment. And even in places where you could clear some brush, the environmentalist wacko policies put limits on how much you could clear. There were also restrictions on timing of when you could clear the brush. And of course, there were penalties for those who didn't want to follow. So if you were non-compliant, well, get ready for the government to come spank you. And on it goes. The state of California has put every obstacle in place that they could possibly think of to set the stage for the ever-increasing number of fires in the state, which of course then they would blame on climate change, blame on global warming. Oh no, how can we possibly have more fires? Why are they more severe? It must be the climate. Blah, 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 blah. No, it's just incompetent idiots running the state of California that have put or set the stage for all of this to happen. And as much as I would like to say that this is the whole story, it's naturally not. You see, they didn't just stop with banning how you could reduce odds of fire, both in your homes and in the forests, but the environmentalist wackos also found a way to add another piece to the mix, and that is the water shortages in the state. You see, the amazingly retarded policies for deadwood and for clearing the brush was also applied to water policies in California. And this, by the way, goes all the way back to the 1970s, where you had a bunch of lunatic fringe environmentalist crazies who campaigned to end nearly a century of progress in capturing water runoff by ending the expansion of the state's water reservoirs. And so restrictions on water reservoir expansions began. In the 1970s, California experienced a huge shift in water management policies. These coastal elites and environmentalist wacko groups begin opposing the construction of the new dams, reservoirs, and canals. And because of this, the water infrastructure building was largely halted. The environmental concerns took precedence over water storage expansion, despite California's massive growing population. And this, by the way, was exceptionally stupid. You see, the population in California in 1976 was roughly 21.9 million people. Now, as of 2024, the most recent estimates I could find puts the population at 39.4 million people, just shy of 40 million. And our water reservoirs are essentially the same as what they were back in the 1970s. So while the elite snobs are trying to constantly blame so-called climate change on water shortages, the reality is, if the state had just kept on expanding their water reservoirs, they never would have had any water crisis these past number of decades. And this includes being able to fight fires with water. Essentially, this whole thing is a self-made problem. The left in California have lost their damn minds. And rather than take responsibility for their idiotic, retarded policies, they instead blame it all on the climate. Oh, the climate. Oh, that's the fault of the climate. Couldn't be our incompetence. And all of this is happening while they continue to do nothing to fix the problem. They are keeping the Golden Coast in a constant state of water emergency, which in turn allows these morons in Sacramento to continue to push ever more climate restrictions and regulations on their citizens of the state, further squeezing the people who are already being taxed into oblivion.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Now, just for funsies, I'm going to give you a small list of projects that were canceled or indefinitely postponed by these climate weirdos. These would have helped our water deficit problem in California. For example, there was a 14,000-acre sites reservoir on the Sacramento River. There was the Los Banos Grandes facility along the California Aqueduct. There was the Temperance Flat Reservoir above Millerton Lake. The Klamath River Diversion Project, which could have created the Apaw Reservoir with a capacity of 15 million acre-feet. And then there was the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act of 1972, which preserved many of California's remaining free-flowing rivers from any future development. The California Environmental Quality Act and National Environmental Policy Act required extensive environmental impact assessments for new projects, which essentially put them forever on hiatus. You couldn't get anything done because, oh no, the dart mouse, the garter snail, it might be endangered. And so the state just kept putting more and more of a focus on protecting the endangered species over their lives, other citizens in the state. And so naturally, California has struggled to effectively capture and store stormwater runoff. You see, during wet periods in the state of California, there is a significant portion of runoff that flows directly into the ocean without being captured for later use. In early 2023, nearly 95% of the incoming water in the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta flowed into the Pacific Ocean. And Los Angeles represents the urban area with the greatest untapped stormwater runoff potential in the entire western United States. And this is just a small microcosm of California's problems. I could go on and on about this. The inadequate infrastructure, the regulatory obstacles, they're legendary in the state of California. But if I were to do so, this episode might go on for many hours, and I don't have time to do that today. So that brings us back to the modern age. Citizens of California are rightfully angry at their incompetent, moronic leaders, like this woman who confronted Gavin Newsom yesterday.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were
hard to watch, isn't it?
Another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're we're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
Ooh, hard to watch, but not surprising. Now, all of the outrage that we're seeing right now on social media and in person is all for nothing if lessons aren't learned here. California needs to thoroughly reject, the citizens of California need to thoroughly reject their leadership. All of this past 30 plus years of moronic rule needs to be thrown out. You got to kick the bastards out and replace them with people willing to actually address the dire needs of its people. Screw the environmentalist wacko nonsense. The people deserve better. And until that happens, the state of California will just continue to suffer and collapse. So let's hope that the lessons are learned here. Now, naturally, this story is unfolding, and I will do what I can to keep on top of it. So from the To Be Frank show, I am Adrian. Thanks for watching, my friends. I'll see you all in the next video.